Hello, and welcome to the New York State Archives webinar module series on record scheduling, a family of short presentations providing overviews of topics related to retention and disposition of government records. This module's topic is the Local Government Retention Schedule, also known as the LGS1. My name is Sarah Durling, and I'll be your presenter. In this session, we will discuss what the Local Government Retention Schedule, or LGS1, is, learn how to use the retention schedule, and identify where you can get assistance in using the schedule if needed. The Local Government Retention Schedule, also known as the LGS1, is the local government retention schedule put forth by the New York State Archives that establishes the retention periods for records created, received, and maintained by local governments in New York State. The LGS1 was published in August 2020 and supersedes all previous local government retention schedules published by the State Archives. The retention schedule establishes the minimum retention period that local governments must maintain their records. These retention periods must be followed for all records regardless of format. It does not matter if the records are paper, electronic, or some other audio or visual format. What matters when it comes to the retention of the records is the content of the records, not the format that they're recorded on. There are some records the LGS1 does not cover. These include court records, vital records, canceled obligations, county board of election records, and the records of county district attorneys, among others. Please review the introductory material in the front of the LGS1 schedule for a complete list. If a local government wants to utilize the LGS1, they must first formally adopt it by resolution. If a government does not adopt the LGS1, they cannot legally dispose of their records. A sample resolution is available from the State Archives to assist local governments who need one. The process of navigating the LGS1 is fairly straightforward. First, identify the record series being worked with. Determining the purpose or function of a record can help identify the record. Governments should not hesitate to reach out to the department that created the record to get a better understanding of what it is. Next, determine if the record is the official copy. The official copy is a single copy of the record that a government will keep for the duration of its retention period. Establishing which records are the record copies also allows governments to designate all other copies as duplicates that can be discarded when they're no longer needed. Once these things are established, there are a couple of different ways to search for the correct retention schedule item. In the next few slides, we are going to demonstrate the most common ones. Before we get there, however, let's get a better understanding of the parts of a schedule item. There are 6 main parts to a schedule item. First is the current schedule item number. For the records we're looking at, legal agreements, the item schedule number is 32. Listed next to the item schedule numbers that are covered by legal agreements in the previous set of retention schedules. For example, in the old county schedule, the CO2, legal agreements were listed as number 6. Please note that these older schedules can no longer be used to manage a government's records. Next, we have the title of an item, which in this case is legal agreement, and a description of the records covered by this item. After that comes the retention period for records covered by this item. This lists the minimum amount of time these records must be kept. And finally, we have a note that provides additional information related to these records that is important for context. Not all items will have a note associated with them. Some items will have sub-items associated with them. It's important to select the sub-item most relevant to the records under consideration. In this example, there are 2 different sub-items that relate to the manuals or policies and procedures. Having gone over what a schedule item looks like, let's open up the LGS1 retention schedule and see how it works. The LGS1 page hosts an online version of the LGS1 retention schedule a downloadable PDF version, and several related tools that a local government may find helpful when managing the retention of their records. There are a couple of ways to access the online version of the schedule. It's the first link in the page's bulleted list, but it's also built right into the side navigation of the page as well. The left-hand menu lists all of the subject headings, including the LGS1 retention schedule. Clicking on any of these headings will bring up a list of all of the retention items in this section of the schedule. Some sections are further broken out with specific subheadings, such as General Administration in the Fiscal section. So let's open up General Administration. As you can see, in General Administration, there are subheadings such as Census and Demographics, Corporation and Business Entities, Education and Child Care, and many others. They're listed also on the side menu as well. The retention schedule items identify the record series title. In this case, let's take a look at the Certificate of Population item. So there's the title. Whether or not the item was revised in the current version, major revision doesn't have anything. The schedule item number, number 2, and the number used in previous schedules as needed. In previous schedules, this was listed as number 351 in the CO2 and 322 in the MU1. Clicking on the schedule item will expand it to display the series description, any sub-items that it may have, and the retention period for these items. So as you can see, we have a description, and it establishes the retention for this particular record series as permanent. If you look at the top of the left-hand menu, you'll see an option to search the schedule. This allows users to keyword search the retention schedule. Let's search for something that all governments will have in great abundance: general correspondence. So let's type in correspondence. Hit apply. The search tool brings up all items that contain the word correspondence. There are several potential retention items listed, so we need to review them until we can find the one that we're looking for. In this case, we're looking for item number 53 specifically, correspondence, which is in the General Administration section under Office Administration. Depending on the type of correspondence the government is dealing with, there may be different retention periods associated with it. So you can see that there are sub-items for correspondence. In some instances, a user might be able to simply search a subject heading to locate the retention item that they're looking for. Certain records, such as fiscal records or tax records, are fairly straightforward as to what section of the schedule they're going to be in. For this example, let's look up canceled checks in the fiscal section. We're going to click on the fiscal section item, and then we'll review the listed series titles until we find one that sounds appropriate. In this case, the one that's probably most appropriate for what we're looking for is number 476, canceled check or stop payment notices. And this has a 6-year retention associated with it. Back on the LGS1 homepage, the second link in the bulleted list takes you to the printable PDF version of the schedule. Users can download it and print a copy or keep it on their computer as a handy reference. It's organized in the same way that the online version is and can be keyword searched as well by using the find function. Let's open it up. On PCs, you can do a keyword search by hitting Control F. On Macs, you're looking for Command F. So I'm on a PC. Control F opens up the Find window. Let's look for correspondence again. Type it in, click Next, and you can see where it's leading us to all of the instances where the word correspondence is found in the schedule. We're going to click through these until we find the appropriate item that we're looking for. And after a few clicks, we find number 53, correspondence, which is the one that we're looking for. As you can see, it's pretty easy to keyword search the PDF as well. It's just not as immediately visually straightforward as the online search tool. Users who print a copy of the schedule may find that directly searching the relevant subject heading might be effective in looking for a retention item. But in cases where it's not immediately obvious, users might want to turn to the back of the schedule and use the index to look up keywords and be pointed in the right direction. So, again, using the correspondence example, let's go to the index of the schedule. We're going to scroll all the way down. And we're going to look for the C's for correspondence. And right here, we'll find correspondence on page 11 and 12, item number 53, which is the item that we're looking for. Going back to the LGS1 landing page, the archives has included a variety of spreadsheets and text documents on the LGS1 main page to inform users of what's been updated in the current version of the retention schedule and cross-reference the LGS1 with previous schedules. For more advanced